Good morning. Headed into work. I had a really restoring day yesterday from being on call, and that's not usually what happens. You usually get called into work, so this was unexpected in the best way. So here I am. I'm just on my way to work, and it's 6:15. Oh my gosh, it's so dark and stormy. Obviously it's dark already, but we've been having a lot of rain in my region, which I'm actually grateful for. I think it's always good to have the rain that you need for the spring time. So I'm seeing all the blossoms come out on the trees and everything. But yeah, today I wanted to just reveal to you guys and talk about some of the things that I have done over the years to help offset stress. I think it's really important. It's really important to be able to manage your stress and experience resilience from your routine and be able to bounce back when life gets hard. And this is something that it took me a long time to understand what really worked for me. My story, unfortunately, wasn't very straightforward, but welcome to life. I think a lot of us have gone through things that we look back and we're like, well, that did not give me the advantage that maybe others had. And I've always felt that I was behind. And when I talk to others about this is pretty relatable. But all of these things together, they can make you feel almost like I don't have a chance in life, or I'm not going to amount to maybe like the full potential that I have. I don't know. These are lies that sometimes we believe, things that aren't really true, but then we latch onto them because we're concerned, we have worries. And I think that's why it's important to talk about all the things that we do, or I do, to kind of help offset some of these burdens and make sure that I can live the best healthy life mentally that I'm capable of, and it helps me bounce back better for my patients and the roles that I have to fulfill in my life, because life isn't easy. We need all the help that we can get. So number one, you guys know this already, but I pretty much bring God into everything. I pray before my day starts. I pray throughout my day. He says that we should pray without ceasing, and I take that seriously. I take that to heart. And when it comes to people's lives, when it comes to dealing with medical issues and health and things that you don't have control over, like, you have to respond and do the right thing. You have to show up for the patient and use critical thinking to navigate the situation appropriately, because your decision could mean whether they live or die. And so you need to be really, really good at it. And that is why I don't sleep on these prayers, because I think that since I'm a human, and I wish that everybody would recognize, everybody that's taking care of people, that's dealing with people, and has people's lives in their hands, I wish that this was something that they realized, was that we should really surrender to the Lord and invite Him and bring His wisdom into our minds so we can act on it. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, wow, how did I know how to do that? I don't remember learning that, or that surprised me that I remembered whatever. And I think sometimes God gives me a leg up by His Spirit. And that's not going to sound crazy to many of you who are on the same page as me, but for somebody maybe hearing this for the first time, I think maybe that sounds odd and maybe a little bit weird, like hokey or something. But for me, I don't doubt whether or not God is involved in my life. I believe that through and through all the time. I've known that since I was young. So for me to say that is like, you know, seeing the manifestation of God's wonder and power and all the good things, looking for His glory inside my life. This is in my job, and you know, how I go about my career. This is one of the places I feel like I see the Lord really shine in my life. Of course, every single area, but some of these areas when it comes to, it just seems like there's just more of like a recognition of it. So that's why I'm sharing that. But I do include God in the beginning of my day. I pray. Sorry you guys, I'm trying to figure out a setup so I can be hands-free, but the setup is not working the way that I hoped. I'll still have to mess with it, but anyway, maybe if I do this, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe that'll be it. Anywho, praying for peace, praying for God to go before me and guide my steps, guide my thoughts, help me to be ready for the situations that I encounter. And I ask him to support me, and I send his angels to protect me and the patients that are being taken care of by my hand, because I want them all to have the best outcome possible. And so that's my number one. I do this when I'm not at work as well for other areas of my life. And it's a big act of surrender, because sometimes we go through situations where we feel like God should have done something, or maybe it should have gone differently. I feel like if God is good, why did this happen? And that goes back to his ways are higher than our ways, and we cannot comprehend as humans all of the things that God is and does, and why he does a certain thing. And a lot of it comes back to like things that he's growing us through, growing us into who we've prayed to become, or things that we have asked for. He's helping us, and he's also, operating by his will, his sovereign will. So sometimes he will not answer a prayer exactly the way maybe I've asked, but I've found peace in knowing that, okay, I've prayed for God's will, not mine, and I've surrendered. So that means that if there's some better way to handle it or whatever, then I can have peace and rest in knowing that he's got me, he's guiding me, and I don't any longer live in that fear or anxiety that I'm gonna miss God, unless I, really, sometimes we can, we can assess our own behavior and our own ways of conducting our lives. So, I also do that from time to time. But some of the more practical things that I do to support my stress is supplementing things, lifestyle habits beyond what I explained, and nutrition. So let me talk a little bit about those. So for nutrition, you guys may have noticed on my channel I have a lot of videos about weight loss, gut health, eating a certain way, and that is because I'm a holistic nutritionist and health coach. And I became certified as an IIN health coach through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition because I went through an eating disorder where I was just binging on sweet foods, salty foods. I used food as a coping mechanism for 11 years, and this eating disorder made me turn to God and ask him for a solution. And so when he gave me a solution, I pretty much took note of everything and started studying all of this, and decided to become a health coach so I could help other people. And what I discovered was that in the beginning of healing from a binge eating disorder, low carbohydrate and higher fat, moderate protein, almost like some people would not call that keto, but I think online in the time and space that I was in, that was actually pretty popular at the time. So I felt like a lot of other people were doing this with me. I tried it, and this is really what introduced me to eating whole foods and paying attention to my nutrition, specifically with the goal of balancing my weight. I think that it's important to love yourself no matter what weight you're at, but then there's another component of not being able to be at your best health when you're carrying so much excess weight, which I was. Now, many people don't know this because they want to jump right to being body positive, but I personally don't believe that you can be body positive if you have a lot of fat collecting around your organs, called visceral fat. That actually prevents oxygen and nutrients from being able to get to your vital organs, and then that actually collects around your heart as well. So these things are things that mainstream media and popular culture do not discuss when it comes to loving yourself, accepting yourself at every size, I don't believe in health at every size. I think you can do healthy behaviors at every size, but if you are somebody who are just moving through life blankly, just believing, accepting, like, I'm good, then you might have another thing coming. And maybe you should start by getting a DEXA scan. And I say this out of love because I want you to live a long, healthy life full of the quality of life that you desire. And it's easy for me to say this as a nurse who's seen pretty much everything. People during COVID, the ones that did the worst were the overweight ones. They couldn't oxygenate, they couldn't ventilate because there's so much fat inside their abdominal cavity preventing them from being able to ventilate properly. So they had a lot of problems and a lot of them died. And this is not popular to talk about. And I think a lot about this because I was overweight once, and it's hard because sometimes you try everything that you can and you just can't figure out what works. This is what worked for me, and the reason that it did was because because my body no longer felt like it needed to search for nutrients. Like, foods that I was eating before was so rich in carbohydrates and sugar and chemicals that made me want to binge. But then the whole foods, it helped me feel satiated for the first time. So that was really supportive. And over time, I was actually able to go down a more protein-based, almost like optimizing protein to improve muscle, because I wanted to further decrease body fat. I was noticing that I was gaining some weight back while I was doing low carb, and that's why I no longer recommend a low carb protocol for women. And people find that really controversial, but I will go and I will stand by it because of everything that I've seen happen to clients, other people, and myself. So that's not the most sustainable approach, and I found that more of a balanced diet with the right foods. Now I'm helping my clients lose like 10 pounds in about 30 days just from eating real foods. And it's exciting for them. That would be exciting to anybody to find what works. And so that's kind of how I eat. I eat high fiber, high protein, and I eat enough healthy fats these days. And then the carbohydrates that I eat, I choose them carefully. When you were pre-diabetic before, you tend to think about your nutrition a lot differently. And so this is part of my stress management, because I've recognized that when you have high blood sugar and when you're pre-diabetic, that provides a level of stress internally that will manifest itself on the outside and mentally to a degree. Additionally, for supplements, my supplements and my lifestyle, they focus around maintaining a healthy gut. And of course, I'm not perfect at this, but I like to do breathing exercises whenever I remember. Diaphragmatic breathing exercises help calm down the parasympathetic nervous system, which we need to be operating well and not in fight or flight mode to be able to manage stress properly. So when I can do that deep breathing, and when I teach the people that I work with deep breathing, it helps them to regulate their heart rate, helps them to regulate their anxiety levels, and it brings oxygen to the brain and around the body in a more efficient way. So it can be really nice just to do that for 5 minutes every day. You will see a lot of difference in your clarity, mental clarity, and your ability to process and handle stress, I've noticed. Other supplements, I take an omega-3 fatty acid from a company that I really rely on and turn to. My go-to is Nordic Naturals. I have a few that I trust, but mainly what you want to find out is what their testing method is for heavy metals and impurities, and how they ensure that their supplements are quality. Because a lot of fish oil supplements and other supplements, for that matter, they just don't go through the same level of testing that maybe they should be, to be able to be the best that they can. So I take probiotics, I take seed, I take a omega-3, sometimes I'll take a B12 for better energy, and lately I've been taking a female hormone supplement, which many of you will not be interested to hear me talk about that. But if you are curious, you should let me know, and I'll make a separate video on why I do that. But that's what I do for stress management, and of course, all this goes without saying, I guess I'm going to say it anyway, sleep. I believe that sleep is just the foundation. There's too much evidence stacking to show us that without the sleep, we just can't recover physically and mentally to be able to be resilient enough. So that's something I take really seriously, and I think many of us are on that plane as well, that we're not willing to sacrifice the sleep anymore, and that's really where we should be if we're concerned about our health. That's got to be in order. So you guys, that is about it for today. I'm almost to work, and I hope that you guys have a lovely day, and that you can show up and be more resilient, and that this gave you something that you can take away and apply to your life. All right, you guys, love your family, and I am really grateful. We just hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel and our family, so we're growing, and God's doing something powerful here through this channel, and I'm excited for it, and I know you guys are too. I've seen your comments. It's so nice to be part of a community like this, I think, where we can include God in our everyday, in our health, and acknowledge Him, right? So if you're somebody who's looking for guidance with gut healing, or you need help with weight loss, I've got resources that can help. Just check the description box below, and you can reach out to me in an email as well. And I'll see you guys next time.